Tonight, an Ontario-wide lockdown starting on Christmas Eve.
If we don't get a handle on this now, our January could easily be a moment of historic consequences.
Government sources saying the province is poised to impose further measures as hospitals plead for stronger restrictions. And
the mood right now is very tense, I would say, and a lot of anxiety and stress.
Virus outbreaks at detention centers around the province has inmates sounding alarm bells. Plus,
it's kind of fun to walk on the ice, but it's really hard to tell if the ice is strong enough and thick enough.
a thin layer of ice on lakes and ponds has formed, but a fatal accident with a young boy in Milton has experts urging caution.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening, I'm Marivel Tarouk. Premier Doug Ford is expected to make an announcement tomorrow about extended restrictions aimed at reining in the spread of COVID-19. After emergency meetings this weekend, sources say the entire province will move to a full lockdown starting on Christmas Eve. Angelina King has the details.
Sources tell CBC as of 12:01 a.m. on December 24th, Ontario will be under a province-wide lockdown, similar to the shutdown in March, with only essential businesses operating, planned for 28 days in southern Ontario, which includes the hardest-hit regions, and 14 days in northern Ontario. Sources say winter break for elementary school students would be extended by 1 to 2 weeks.
I don't know how effective it's going to be just the night before Christmas. And so as much advanced preparation that you can give to communities, the better.
Dr. Mohammed Hashim Khan says a lockdown won't be enough without more testing, contact tracing, and the use of isolation centers.
I think we have to have a multi-pronged approach.
Sources say the decision to go back into a provincial lockdown was based on modeling data that shows, as a best-case scenario, Ontario would see 300 people in the ICU by the end of this month, nearly 40 more than at the height of the first wave. The data also shows, at the current rate of transmission, that number would grow to 700 by the end of next month.
If we don't get a handle on this now, our January could easily be a moment of historic consequences.
Earlier today, all hospitals in the Greater Toronto Area signed a letter calling on the province to implement tighter restrictions, saying this level of strain is simply not sustainable for much longer.
We're having new patients admitted every day, some in their 30s and 40s, which really speaks to the sheer numbers of people that are getting infected in the community, because it's very rare for people in their 30s or 40s to get sick enough to actually come to hospital and be admitted to the ICU.
Sources say the government is still working out the details of this provincial lockdown, including which businesses can and cannot operate. More information is expected to be announced tomorrow. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
The looming restrictions come as the province reports over 2,000 new COVID-19 cases and 25 new deaths. A total of 2,316 cases were reported in the province, 486 of them in Toronto. Not far behind is Peel Region with 468 cases. York Region had a spike with 326 cases. Windsor-Essex reported 151 and Niagara with 128. The number of people in hospital has continued to increase, with 875 in hospital, 261 of whom are in intensive care, and 156 are using ventilators. Institutional settings have become notorious for spreading the COVID-19 virus, and that includes prisons. As Talia Ricci shows us, there are growing calls to protect inmates and staff.
From inside the walls of Kingston, Ontario's Joyceville prison, rising cases and a plea for help.
One of them, he was so concerned because the guy in the cell next to him has COVID and hasn't been moved off the range, that he put a bunch of garbage bags up against his cell wall to try and stop the airflow.
A letter written on behalf of the inmates asks for a plan and for enough supplies to keep them safe. Prisons were hit hard in the first wave.
In terms of Joyceville, I don't know really why it's gotten so bad, except there was obviously very little planning.
Correctional Service Canada says inmates who have tested positive are being medically isolated and closely monitored, adding that inmates and staff are required to wear masks and abide by physical distancing measures. But in-person visits were only stopped this week.
The mood right now is very tense, I would say, and a lot of anxiety and stress.
At least 3 staff at the Kingston prison also tested positive for the virus. The union representing its workers says there are extra cleaning protocols and sufficient PPE, but in-person visits should have been suspended sooner.
A couple of weeks ago, we asked CSC to stop the visits from hot zones. So, for example, from Toronto and Peel coming to Kingston.
There are now more than 50 cases at Toronto's South Detention Centre and dozens more at Stony Mountain Institution in Manitoba and Saskatchewan Penitentiary.
It's outrageous, and it's happening in different parts across the country, and it obviously impacts our communities as well.
That's because walls like these can't keep the virus out or hold it in. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to Etobicoke, where 3 men were injured after a single vehicle crash early this morning. It happened in the area of Islington Avenue and Dundas Street West just after 3. An 18-year-old man was driving northbound on Islington when he ran a red light at Dundas. He then swerved to avoid another vehicle, and when he lost control and struck a curb, causing his vehicle to flip. The occupants had to be extricated and were rushed to a trauma center. 1 man, the rear passenger, is in life-threatening condition, and 2 others were seriously injured. Police say the cause of the collision is currently under investigation. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Police in Milton are warning residents not to trust the ice on lakes and ponds after an 11-year-old boy fell through the ice on a pond yesterday and later died. It comes at a time when an increasing number of people are looking for more outdoor activities to keep busy this winter because of the pandemic. Greg Ross was in Milton today and has more.
A tragedy that is all too common this time of year.
It's really hard to tell if the ice is strong enough and thick enough.
2 young boys ventured out onto this storm management pond in Milton yesterday and fell through the ice. Emergency crews had to be called in to attempt to rescue one of the boys, an 11-year-old who wasn't able to escape the icy waters. He was later pronounced dead in hospital.
I feel for the families of those 2 boys.
Another rescue effort today in Woodstock, Ontario, where firefighters pulled 2 more kids from an icy lake there. Fortunately, they both survived.
Dangerous time of year.
Barbara Byers from the Life Saving Society says fluctuating temperatures in southern Ontario at this time of year can often make lakes and ponds appear to be fully frozen over when they are not.
I think it's just really important, for parents to say to the kids, never go near the ice, stay away from the ice.
And that message of safety is even more important this year than ever. The Halton Region Conservation Authority says they've seen people flocking to the outdoors because of the pandemic, and they expect that to continue right through the winter months.
There's been a huge demand, 40% increase over our historic average of visitations.
They expect more than 1.5 million visitors to 7 conservation parks in the region this year, and they say they are seeing people coming from all over the province.
Just lots of walking, just being out away from the city, the noise, getting a couple hours of fresh air, a little bit of exercise.
But as the weather gets colder, it's not just lakes and ponds that are dangerous. The icy terrain on trails and in wooded areas can also be unsafe.
You have to sort of be a little bit vigilant as you go out into nature. They're not all perfectly curated areas. They're wild.
Conservation Halton recommends that people visit their website before heading to one of their parks. They have safety tips, information, and maps posted online. Greg Ross, CBC News, Milton.
Here's a live look at Windsor for you tonight, where it is currently 0 degrees there, so hovering right around the freezing mark. Let's check in with Christina now for a bit more on the forecast. A fairly lovely day in Toronto, feeling a little bit damp through. So.
Absolutely. So like you were saying earlier, we're dealing with those fluctuating temperatures, and come midweek, we could be dealing with a potent system. But let's take a quick look at what we're going to be dealing with overnight. So you can see here, Toronto, clear skies, but you are seeing a little bit of that mixing throughout Kingston, Ontario, and a few other regions. That's because we're still dealing with that wintry mix, essentially that wet snow rain mix. That's going to be lingering into our Monday. And here it is, Toronto, for your Monday morning, -1, feeling like -4. You're seeing those lingering flurries, but it's not really about the accumulation. It's really about those damp conditions, as you were mentioning earlier, Maribel. So you can see here that we are going to be dealing with this continuous low pressure system, but this is going to be bringing us snowfall for the higher terrain. So this is really going to be bringing us snow for northern Ontario. For southern Ontario, once again, that wintry mix. So Monday, our afternoon high, 3 degrees. There is your wintry mix for Toronto. Similarly with Hamilton, London, as well as Windsor, it's really about that rainfall there. And then overnight, you can see here, we're right at the freezing mark for Toronto, building cloud cover. So we're not going to be dealing with that continuous system into our Tuesday. So Toronto, clear skies, a little bit of sunshine for Toronto and Hamilton. But come Wednesday, things are going to switch up, and I'm going to give you those details in the long-range forecast.
Because that will include Christmas Eve and Christmas.
You got it.
Okay, we'll see you in a bit. Thanks, Christina.
Okay, thanks.
We're coming to them. They don't have to come in to find any services. They don't have to wait in long lineups. They don't have to register.
An Indigenous organization in Toronto is taking COVID healthcare on the road. How a new mobile health unit is roaming across the city. That's next. An Indigenous organization in Toronto is bringing COVID-19 testing to the streets with a mobile health unit. Anishinaabe Health Toronto launched the initiative earlier this year after seeing the toll the pandemic has had on the community. Now, nurses, doctors, and social workers roam the city testing and treating people in need of medical care. Nazima Walji has the details.
Nurse practitioner Bobby Seuss wipes down a chair in between patients.
We're doing mobile COVID testing today.
Seuss is part of a team of nurses and social workers that roam the city offering healthcare to reach people where they are.
We're coming to them. They don't have to come in to find any services. They don't have to wait in long lineups. They don't have to register. A lot of people in these communities and in this population, they aren't so eager to actually go into hospitals and whatnot to get the services or to get tested. So it's amazing to actually be able to come out into the community, come right to their doorstep or to wherever they are, even in the encampments.
The RV is fully equipped.
We have everything at our fingertips, whatever we need, and it's very compact, it's easy to handle, it's easy to clean. No infection spread.
The main goal, says the unit's coordinator, is to offer mental health supports, deliver primary health care and traditional medicine to people in the Indigenous, homeless and transient populations.
We had quite a few pregnant women at one of the encampments, so I did like a circle, social distancing, and then we took them on individually to really check out how they're doing, check out their health. We've had people that have like urgent care needs, like wounds and chronic conditions that are not being taken care of.
The team believes the community will need more support through the winter and after the pandemic. Planning for the next phase has started.
We're getting another nurse practitioner, another registered nurse, and another admin assistant, and we have another vehicle. They're just so grateful. Even just to have that relationship and talk, because they haven't had any discussion with anyone who is medical or Indigenous and medical, or someone who's is a counselor, a social worker, or a housing or mental health. It's just like, they're so isolated. We're so grateful to be able to reach them.
The mobile health unit was created to address the community's needs during the pandemic. Now they see between 50 and 100 people a day. Nazima Walji, CBC News, Toronto.
After a water emergency forced them from their homes, members of a remote First Nation in Northern Ontario are home for the holidays following a 2-month evacuation. But as Olivia Stefanovich reports, their water still isn't safe to drink.
After 2 months away, this is the moment the people of Niskandiga have been waiting for.
Christmas is here and we need to be home.
But their return comes with mixed emotions.
The water's broken.
8-year-old Anastasia Muniz has never lived without a boil water advisory.
This is 2020, for God's sake. We should be having clean drinking water at home.
Niskandiga has the longest standing drinking water advisory of any First Nation in the country. 25 years and still counting, despite recent positive water test results.
It's exhausting to live like this.
Charla Muniz told Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about Niskandiga's struggles in 2016. That same year, the federal government announced an upgrade to the reserve's water treatment plant, a promise now 2 years overdue.
Sometimes, I just feel like losing hope. What's the point? Are we supposed to live like this our whole lives? Is that what they expect of us? Are they trying to still assimilate us?
The advisory could finally be lifted once work on the upgrade wraps up in the new year. Then the community will have to grapple with another challenge.
If we're able to get clean water here, I'm still not going to trust myself to drink the tap water because I've been growing up drinking water bottles.
But Chief Chris Muniz hopes someday people won't fear what comes out of their faucet.
Well, I feel a lot more optimistic than I have ever been in regards to the water treatment plant because, it's, now that when we run the taps, that, the water there doesn't look like ginger ale, like what we're used to seeing. It's much more cleaner.
An uplifting moment in a generational struggle to access a basic right. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Niskandiga First Nation.
Canada has suspended flights arriving from the UK for the next 72 hours, joining countries across Europe in imposing travel restrictions amid alarm over a new strain of COVID-19. And after yesterday's announcement that London and southeastern England were heading into a new lockdown. CBC's Farah Morali reports.
This was a scene inside one of London's central train stations last night, not long after the announcement of a new lockdown.
We do apologise for the overcrowding issues on this train this evening.
A rush to get out of the city with just hours to spare before new travel restrictions would make it illegal for many to leave the capital. The new lockdown was announced just days after the Prime Minister said cancelling Christmas would be inhuman.
Given the early evidence we have on this new variant of the virus, the potential risk it poses, it is with a very heavy heart, I must tell you, we cannot continue with Christmas as planned.
That variant is believed to be 70% more transmissible and is being blamed for a surge in infections. Today, the number of new coronavirus cases in the UK hit a record high, nearly 36,000.
The new variant is out of control and we need to bring it under control.
Several countries announced today they are temporarily halting travel from the UK because of the new variant, including the Netherlands, Germany, and Italy. But some say those measures won't stop the variant from getting out.
I think it's almost inevitable that this virus will spread globally, will cause substantial increases in infection rates in the countries that it does spread to, and it will be very difficult to control.
I mean, I don't like it, I really hate it, but what can we do, you know?
On the quiet streets of London today, a sense of anxiety, but also frustration.
I think the lack of planning and the lack of ability to tell people that this was going to happen in advance of when it did caused a lot of havoc and confusion.
Empty streets, something Londoners will have to get used to, because this lockdown could last for months. Farah Morali, CBC News, London.
Police were lined up outside this store in Durham region today to share the holiday spirit. How the police service is giving back, next.
Everybody's trying to get that spot, and it's great competition. But just being able to go in there and get that news, it was a sigh of relief, and I got to call my family, and that was great, and be able to see their reactions.
That was Raptors player Paul Watson Jr., who was happy to say he had just signed a standard contract with the team. The upgrade for Watson comes just days before the NBA season starts. The Raptors kick things off on Wednesday against the Pelicans. The team, of course, is playing their home games in Tampa due to the pandemic. And the NHL has announced its plans for a shortened 2021 season. Games will begin January 13th. The League and Players Association reached an agreement for a 56-game season, which should conclude around mid-July. Okay, we're all wondering what Christmas Eve and Christmas and all of that is looking like, Christina.
See, I read your mind, Martha.
Perfect. You're good at that, actually.
Thank you so much. By the way, I'm really happy that hockey's back. I just wanted to let everybody know. So Toronto, very low chances. Windsor, low chances as well. Nation's capital, medium chances. Thunder Bay, Timmins, so northwestern, northeastern Ontario. We are going to have a white Christmas there. So our Monday, once again, for the start of the new week, 3 degrees for Toronto, feeling like -1. Pretty much the same for southwestern Ontario. Of course, a little bit chilly as we head north. All right, so are we going to see any sunshine this week? I thought I'd let you all know. Tuesday, we're going to see 4 hours. That is going to be the day where we're going to have the most amount of sunshine, because after that, it's all about that buildup and that cloud cover. Here is your long range forecast, that low pressure system pushing in, and this is going to be a cold front that's really going to be shaking things up. A lot of snowfall for northern Ontario, specifically northeastern Ontario, but for southern Ontario, it looks like we could be dealing with some of that lake effect snow. So once again, chances very low of having a white Christmas. Monday, there is your mixing 3 degrees, that'll be your afternoon high. Tuesday, sun peaks up, you're seeing that building cloud cover. Wednesday, return of the flurries. Thursday, it's that rainfall, all again because of that cold front pushing in Wednesday into Thursday. And then Friday, we could be dealing with a little bit of lake effect snow, -3 degrees. And then Saturday, clear skies, plenty of sunshine. So again, chances are very low. Pushing into the nation's capital, Monday, your sunshine at 2 degrees. Tuesday, cloud cover. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, yeah, we could be dealing with some of those flurries for Christmas. So if you want to see some of that beautiful white stuff, you got to head to the nation's capital.
Okay. Well, Merry Christmas, because I won't see you before then.
Oh, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody watching at home.
And the holidays, of course, fast approaching. Police in Durham region encouraging the public to donate to their food and toy drive today, and we checked in on their Cram a Cruiser event.
Got Durham Regional Police here, which are an awesome partner for us, and they're here to do their toy and food drive. They're here from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and they're outside the front of the store, and it's a Cram the Cruiser event. It's awesome. Last year we were able to actually cram a bus and a cruiser with toys and food that the community has donated to us. So it's been awesome. This year we've had to bring in many cars come line the front of the store here in order to get them all filled up and get them off to where they need to go.
We decided to donate our time and money. We got the kids to go and shop and pick out toys and come and drop them off to our local Canadian Tire here. It's the Durham Regional Police Drive, and they distribute them out to families in need across the community. Our team manager is actually the manager of Canadian Tire here, and she does this every year, so I thought what a great opportunity to partner with her and Durham Regional Police and get the kids to get back to the community.
As we say goodnight, here's a look at a house in Thornhill.